face that looks it's in black. Pages breathe when you're not there. Turn the key, the shadows talk back. Midnight rings you if you're dead. One more line, one more flight into the weird unknown. It's out tonight, and the rainbows of Olive.
Good evening, outsiders of unease, and welcome to episode 17 of Hitchcock's Tales That Terrify, Shadows from the Master, on SL Tonight. Tackling the Master's curated traps, blending his biography with stories that cornered him. From Estuarine Echoes, we navigate Tough Town by William Sambrot, a 1957 paranoia builder from the anthology. Salesman George rolls into a nondescript town for a quick deal, but faces mounting hostility, hurt shopkeepers, sabotaged vehicles, and escalating accidents that isolate him. As escape eludes, the town's malice unravels his sanity in a conspiratorial twist. Sambrot's rising dread and societal suspicion capture Hitchcock's everyday terror. In the late 1970s, Hitchcock's legacy shone through tributes. Mel Brooks's High Anxiety, 1977, parodied his tropes with vertigo gags and shower spoofs, a film Brooks screened for Hitchcock, who gifted wine and praise. This era's honors, like the 1979 AFI Award, celebrated the suspense amid health declines. Such reflections parallel the story's trapped alienation. Stepped into town. The story awaits. Ed Dillon hesitated before the neat iron gate that barred the pathway leading to the comfortable home beyond. He shifted his battered sample case, taking no notice of the No Peddlers sign hung prominently near the latch. He was tired as only door-to-door canvasser can be tired near the end of a day of doors slammed in his face. It was a hard town. A tough town. He'd seen a constable giving him a long, slow stare earlier, and he'd walked jauntily on, trying to look like a well-fed tourist just stopping between bus changes, out to look the town over. But the constable hadn't been fooled. He had an eye for the cracked shoes, the shiny serge, the well-worn sample case. It had been a tough town, and only 2 meager sales. He glanced at his watch and shrugged his shoulder. It's time to make his pitch here, then hustle down to the bus depot for a bite and a 5:15 on to the next town. He opened the gate and took 2 steps when the dog was on him, the red mouth, the slavering teeth. A strange, horrible dog that lurked silently behind a bush and leaped savagely, growling low and deep in its throat. With the instinct of long practice, he brought up his sample case, and luckily, the dog's teeth only skinned his knees. His knuckles. Then the animal was behind and loping away, an eerie, long-drawn howl floating back. Ed watched it go, heart pounding, sucking his knuckles. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the agitated motions of a curtain being dropped out a window. The door opened, and a tall, white-haired man stepped out. Man's quick glance raked him from head to foot, and Ed, seeing the set lines, narrowed, piercing eyes, knew there'd be no sale here. He stopped and, picking up his case, opened the gate and hurried off. "Wait!" the white-haired man yelled. "You! Come back here, you! Stop! Come back here!" Ed hurried on, without looking back. He knew these towns, these mean, bitter people, always anxious to slap a man in jail, to fine him for selling without a license, get his last cent, and kick him out like a common bum. He knows them, every miserable sooty bird, every disheveled housewife who listened with flat eyes and contemptuous smile. What was wrong with these people? Why did they hate him, sneer at him, sick their dogs at him? He did them no harm. He brought his few brushes, his kitchen gadgets, his little jokes, and they paid him with insults, threats. Behind him, the man still yelled as he turned the corner and hurried towards the bus depot, his torn knuckles burning. Over his coffee, with still 20 minutes to go, Ed heard the commotion outside. With caution born of long experience, he picked up a newspaper and held it before his face. Then he peered carefully around. There was a tall, white-haired old man talking excitedly to the constable. They walked along the covered ramp outside the depot, looking carefully at the few stragglers waiting for the big silver bus to take on the passengers. He rose, carrying the paper and the case, and walked quietly to the back of the little restaurant and out the door. He had no doubt that the white-haired man wanted him arrested for ignoring his no peddler sign. Probably a local merchant outraged at his unlicensed competition. His shoulders sagged, he felt tired and empty as he peeked around the corner and watched them enter the restaurant. So they were going to make a production of it. He picked up his case and glanced quickly around. Down the street is a sad little park filled with straggly trees. In the center was a tiny screened summer house, leaf-choked, empty looking. He started walking quickly. There was a bare chance, that he could make it to the highway and flag down the bus provided he could get out of town without being seen by the constable. He simply couldn't afford a fine, or 30 days in jail, or both. He barely had bus fare and room rent for tonight, and tomorrow if the next town wasn't better. He entered the park and walked along a disused path towards the summer house. In the distance, the bus burst into sound and staccato backfires. He hesitated. Too late now. He peered into the summer house, at the littered floor, dust-covered benches. He could stay there, wait until dark, and then head out to catch the 10 o'clock. It wasn't a pleasant prospect, but then it was better than running into the eager beaver constable. He looked beyond the park, at the snug little homes, tree-lined streets, and vague sadness came over him. He was the eternal wanderer, peddler, and an itinerant whose trade was old when the pyramids were built. He sighed and settled himself on the bench. Tough town. Tough people. Even the damned dogs bit without warning. Knuckles hurt. He flipped open the paper and scanned the headlines quickly. Local rural vanishes. Subhead said, Judy Howell feared victim of foul play. He grunted, squinting in the dimness, gave up, tucked the paper under his head, and in a minute was asleep. When he awoke, it was dark. His tongue felt thick, his head throbbed, and his knuckles burned like consuming fire. He examined his watch. He just had time to ease out of town and flag down the 10:15 if he hurried. He rose, and suddenly the room whirled. There was a huge roaring in his ears. He waited strangely frightened until his head cleared. He'd been hungry and tired before, but nothing like that had ever happened. He picked up his case, winced at the stiff pain in his scraped knuckles, cursing again the town, the dog, the white-haired man who pursued him, even though through his uneasy slumber. Unless he wanted to cut across fields, climb through or under barbed wire, he had to walk through a well-lighted section in order to get to the highway. He hesitated, but his throbbing hand gave him no choice. He was in no mood to climb fences. Head down, clutching the rolled-up newspaper, he strode along, trying to look like a well-fed tourist out to see the town between bus stops. His feet were killing him, and deep behind his eyes strange flashes came and went. It had been a long time since he'd eaten lunch, but still. He stiffened as a man approached, staring curiously at him as most small-towners stare at strangers. The man stepped slow as Ed approached and finally stopped, frankly waiting for Ed to come closer. With the skill born of long practice, Ed sized up the stranger. Not a constable, or even a deputy. Just a local out for a stroll. And yet the way he stared, sudden look as of recognition. Ed pulled his hat brim down further and brushed by the man, forcing his aching legs to move briskly, the handle of his sample case wet in his palm. Ed crossed the street hurriedly, glancing back. He saw the man stare irresolutely for a moment, and then rushed up a walk and began pounding on the door of a house. Suddenly he was soaked in perspiration. The man had acted as though he'd recognized him, as though his picture had been plastered all over the papers or something. The little nightmare thoughts pushed and darted about the edges of his mind. That white-haired man, talking, telling people about him until the whole town was out to get him. Ridiculous. For what? People in a town, even in a tough town like this, didn't concern themselves about a little thing like canvassing without a license. He averted his face as a group of laughing young girls came out of a brightly lit soda fountain. He heard one sing a brief snatch of a popular song, clear and sweet, as he passed them. And another gasped, a choked little sound that tightened his hand convulsively on the case handle. Did you see that man? It's him! He faltered. It was crazy. Even the kids. Gray suit, brown hat, carrying a suitcase. It is! The little squeals and gasps pursued him as he crossed the street again, rounded the corner, and stopped in a darkened doorway. Through the broad window opening on the street, he could see them. The girls were clustered about the door of the drugstore, talking and pointing in his direction. A tall young man dressed in whites had joined them. A small boy leaped on his bike and pedaled furiously up and around the corner, not seeing them flattened in the doorway. The tiny bicycle light dimmed and vanished up the street, and Ed felt a terrible tremor in his neck, an uncontrollable jerking. Spasm passed, and he leaned limply in the doorway, looking through the window to across the street. The man who'd pounded on the door came up with several others. Cars converged on the spot. A little not before the drugstore grew, a babble of their voices reaching him, an ominous murmur. The crowd grew, the noises it made swelled. Then they started to cross the street. He began walking hurriedly, his head remote, the roaring returning. The street stretched endlessly, growing dim, receding into an infinite distance. Behind he heard running footsteps, hurried explanations as others joined the group. Something horrible had happened to this town, the people. The word of him had spread like a crown fire in a forest, and they were out to get him. Why? He was no criminal. What could he possibly have done to start them off? He shifted his sample case, trying to think. And then he remembered the newspaper he'd read. Little girl, missing. Foul play suspected. Good God! Could it be that... He hurried. He realized his danger. He was a stranger. Outsider. Beyond the sacred community pale. Broke into a shambling, staggered run. Across the street, through an empty lot, down an embankment and up the other side. There was no choice now. He had to cut across the fields, burning heavily, case banging against him, clutching newspaper. While behind, the shouts rose. He tried to duck behind a huge oak tree, but they'd already spotted him. Pursuit became bedlam. He ran. He was every frightening man ever pursued. Night surrounded him, hideous with cursing calls. He moved spasmodically, a man in a nightmare. The town was after him, baying, slavering, with red mouth. He should never have ignored that gigantic neon-lit no peddlers that burned and flared behind his eyes. From all about they converged, seeing beyond the flimsy camouflage of his jaunty carriage, seeing the cracked shoes, the shining serge, battered sample case. They knew. Canvasser, peddler, keep out. The tough town. Suddenly he was down and they were on him, shouting, hands pulling at him. It's him! The guy the radio just cried. He's the one the sheriff's after. He did it! Killer! Rapist! Killer! Rapist! The words roared and crashed against his body from all angles, leaving great hurting welts. Dimly, he heard a siren approaching, wailing thin and clear above the surf sounds of the mob. Brakes squealed. There was an obscure scuffle, and still the mob pounded and pulled at him alternatively. Not wanting for the girl! The voice roared. Let him go! The voice was swallowed up in huge murmuring. He's been bitten by a mad dog. Stand back! In the name of the law, stand back or I'll shoot! Mad dog! Words swept through the mob like a tremendous wave, battering and buffeting, surging back again. He's a mad dog! One voice howling, horrible to hear, rising above the others. You heard the sheriff. He's a mad dog killer. You know what he did to Julie Howell. What are we waiting for? Another voice, lost, remote. Stop! In the name of... There were shots. The mob shouted in unison. They swept forward like one kill-crazy animal. He was picked up. Hands plucked and tore at him. Faces, red, sweaty, glaring-eyed, came and went. Sounds swelled and swelled. They couldn't be real. This must be delirium, the result of the venom the mad dog had introduced into his blood. He heard the sheriff's words. He understood at last. It would be all right. This was fever. Then they'd put him between cool sheets, and kind nurses would bathe his hot forehead. He tried to move his broken mouth to tell him this. He misjudged the people of the town. They weren't tough. Not really. It was just that he'd been bitten by a mad dog, and they wanted to find him, to help him. They meant him no harm. All this, the noises, the battering blows, the mob, this wasn't really happening. Not really. It was the delirium. Brilliant lights flared in his face. He opened his swollen eyes, squinting against the glare. Above was the massive outline of a great tree, an oak tree. Something moved up there, then came dropping toward him, alien, sinuous, like a brown hairy snake. It dangled before his face, and he smiled at it while lights flared and diminished in his eyes. It looked like a rope. It felt harsh when they put it around his neck, but it couldn't be a rope. Not really. The crowd screamed, a strange feminine sound that lifted him up on a shrill crest of unbelievable sound. Then suddenly, he felt himself dropping. Just a part of the nightmare. It meant him no harm. Soon, they put him between cool sheets and kind And so toughens tough town. Where welcome wears thin to terror. Sharp study of societal siege. As George's isolation snaps, it echoes Hitchcock's craft of paranoid pursuit. The 1970s capped with Family Plot, 1976, and Honors. The AFI Tribute in 1979 lauded his 50-plus films, while Brooks' High Anxiety, inspired by Hitchcock's Blessing, blended homage with humor, spoofing Psycho and Vertigo. Declining health led to his 1980 death at 80, but his influence endured. Anthologies like this preserved that tense legacy. Did this town toughen you? Is this eerily similar to the behavior of people today? Like, subscribe, comment. Next up, The Troll by T.H. White. And before I go, just again remind you one more time, we have the Secret Agent X, The Tortured Trust, animated series, coming soon. Songs, they all tie in. Enjoy. Good night.
Are sad and lonely. For you I sigh, for you alone. You hide behind 1,000 faces, yet every mask I've known. The lab lights cast their poison glow. The needle waits in green.